May 20th. Up, Insane Bachelor with you once again. I've not been on YouTube for a long time. Rather, I've been on YouTube very little in the past week because it's been a very hectic week for me. I got some new fucking people living in my house. It's not really my house, it's my dad's house, but yeah. That's great. I got this couch in my room, which I'm not complaining about because it's comfortable as all hell, and now I sleep there instead of my bed. And no one's forcing me to. I'm just doing that of my free will because that's how fucking comfortable it is. Now all I need is this fucking wall to have something on it, like a portrait of Stalin or a fucking Soviet flag or just something controversial like a dead baby or some shit like that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of response videos that I'm going to have to make. I'm not making any promises right now because I've still got homework and shit to do, so when I get around to it, I'll get around to it. And as well as just like atheist videos and shit like that. But this is not going to be an atheist video. I had a discussion not too long ago with somebody. It wasn't really a discussion, unfortunately. It was more like an argument. The other person was saying that communism sucks, and me, being the commie lover that I am, I defended it. And, of course, Soviet Russia was brought up as an example. And whenever they bring up Soviet Russia as an example, they always bring up Stalin. And I'm pretty sure you already know my stance on him. And in regards to actual communism and how it applies to the Stalinist regime, the other person said, you know, the communists are despots. They take away people's rights. They fucking put people in poverty and shit. And a lot of the stuff they said was just the usual slander that people pile upon communism, but I'm not here to talk about that. They did bring up a good point, and that's that people in communist countries, you know, Soviet Russia included, generally don't have a lot of possessions. And that got me thinking about why do possessions make us happy? Do possessions even make us happy? To what degree do possessions make us happy? Why do we consider possessions as a measure of success? You know, questions like that. And that's kind of what I wanted to make this video about. It's not going to be about communism. Communism is just what got me thinking about this. But yeah. So, I think before we can tackle this large issue, before I can tackle it anyway, I need to define what ownership is. And I don't even think that I want to tackle this because I currently really have no interest in doing so. I mean, if anybody wants to spark a conversation or something and they have something reasonable to say, then of course I'll, you know, oblige. But right now, I just see no reason to answer all these questions that I'm asking. But I do have this one particular question that's I would really like an answer to, and that question is, how do we define ownership? What is ownership? What is it? It's some kind of relationship between an object and a human, or in some cases between two humans. But I mean, that doesn't really say anything. All it says is that it's some sort of relationship. There's nothing for anyone to say that can convince me that that relationship has anything substantial to it. People talk about ownership all the time. It's it's very a very important thing in legal matters. You know, there's laws out there to prevent people stealing from something that you own, or to prevent you stealing from something that other people own, and all sorts of laws dealing with things that people own. But what is ownership? The law doesn't really address what that is, or if it makes an attempt, it certainly doesn't succeed in any way. I mean, if we're just going by the law, then ownership is reduced to a social recognition of some sort of relationship that's still undefined between a human and a thing. So that gets us nowhere. That's not to say that ownership doesn't exist. I mean, just because you can't explain something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Especially if that thing is a entirely human concept like ownership, then it has to exist just because it's a definition of something. We just don't know what that thing is. So, God, I hope I'm making sense here. I'm probably not. But anyway, I'd like to use the example of love. I mean, I've not met anybody who can give me a concrete definition of what love actually is, yet people experience it. I mean, I've yet to meet some people, or I mean, I've met a few people who don't believe that love actually exists, but very few. I mean, most people, myself included, would agree that it exists, even though that there's really no solid, concrete, hard and fast, end-all be-all definition for it. And it's the same thing with ownership, really. That's what I believe. But that doesn't really do anything to answer my question. So I decided to dissect the hell out of this as far as I could, and decided to answer the question myself. And basically what I came up with is, if I want an object to be either in close proximity to me or in such a proximity to me as where I can always keep an eye on it, and whether I intend to use it or not, if I want it to be in such a proximity to such a degree that I don't want other people to use it or to take it, at least not without my permission, then I would consider myself the owner of that thing. And this may seem like an extremely selfish thing to say, but I mean, think about it. You probably have that same thought too whenever you consider yourself the owner of something. I mean, that's all it really boils down to. What I'm trying to say, mates, is that ownership really has no substantial thing to it. It's just exactly what I said. At least that's as far as I'm able to discern. But, at the end of the day, neither my will nor that of anybody else is enough to ensure that this concept of ownership is really carried out. And when it's not, that's called theft, which I'm going to have to tackle that question in some other time. So if anybody else has some thoughts about that, there's the comment section. There's also a possibility to make a video response. Fucking rate, subscribe, and peace the fuck out.